Welcome to, for me, a highly anticipated video I wanted to make, and it's about a guide for Aizen. Before we start, don't get scared. I know the video is super lengthy. I have timestamps for ease of navigation, but the thing is, man, this dude, his kit is so long. I think I need a diploma in Aizenology, yeah, because there is so much to the kit to it. It's so full of mechanics that he has, so it takes quite a while. I'm not going to break down his passives and his kit one by one and reading them, because first and foremost, who wants to listen to my broken English, right? And secondly, it's easier to understand once I show you directly. Thus, we will jump into the training area shortly, and I will showcase the passives and everything written on the screen so that you can read and see it for yourself. This is the first part. The second part, I'm not going into specifics on why Aizen is fantastic or why you should pull for him and everything like that. I have a separate video for that, where I go into the value of Aizen. This is just bare bones, his guide, and I want to keep it quote-unquote short as possible because there is a lot. Alright. If this video was helpful to you, if it was educational, I would really highly appreciate it if you liked and subscribed to this. And let me know in the comment down below which kind of guide you want to see next. It could be a character guide, it could be about damage stats, anything, really. Just let me know in the comments down below. Really appreciate you viewing this, and I really appreciate the feedback and the support. With that said, let's jump right into it. So first, before we start, I'm going to take a look at him with no weapon and no stamp. Okay, we will add this later. This stamp here doesn't move the needle much, so we will keep this on. Okay, here we are in the training area. Lots and lots of words to describe very few little things, but he does a lot of little things, which means a lot of words. We're going to break this down into the most adjustable way possible, and I want to emphasize certain parts of his kits where you can basically manipulate him into doing the most of the damage that he can do, while not caring for other parts of his kit because they basically happen automatically once you see and pay attention to this specific part. That said, he has two distinct mechanics. He has his battlefield skill, which is massive, right? Because he has different ways on using that. He has an off-field battlefield skill, and he has a non-field battlefield skill, and he has a passive. So, the most important part though for his kit is his passive, as it should be. Before I go into explaining the passive, there is a, I don't know if it's a translation error, but they sometimes call it spiritual domination. What they mean is this gauge here when it's full. I don't know why it's worded that way. I don't know why they describe the whole process of gaining and losing these stacks as spiritual domination. But in his kit, in his passive, it's written as spiritual pressure stacks and enhanced spiritual pressure stacks. So, for the remainder of the guide, I'm not going to mention spiritual domination, just so you know, spiritual domination is everything that happens in this gauge here, right? Okay, with that out of the way, let's start. There are three ways to gain this spiritual pressure stacks, and this is going to break my tongue, by the way. The first one is his technique, and the second one is using his technique or his special attack. There you go. And the third is the more important one, because this is the trigger that you can use to switch from the normal pressure state to the enhanced state. If you check this, I'm using it, I'm at 3 stacks, and I'm reusing my technique, nothing happens. I'm not in the enhanced state, I'm nowhere, right? Same here, and same here too. No enhanced pressure stacks. Okay. So, Atto, what's happening? What is happening is this. There are two ways to enter it. The first way is to last hit with your auto attack string. Et voila. Now we will let it run it out real quick. One of the most important parts of this last hit is this though. When you press it and you don't hit, there is no gain. And this is really, really important because you can decide a trigger when to enter it. And why is it so important, you ask? The main reason is you gain two massive buffs. First, the enhanced state in itself. I will go into this shortly. Secondly, it's one of the most broken defensive mechanics I've ever seen in any game at all, to be honest. Okay, let's build this up real quick. Let's go into here. And now what I will do is I will tell the AI to just counter me. As you can see, I can jump out of it. Now I'm in enhanced state. And I dodge. Wait, what? I dodge again. Wait, what? How often can I dodge? Again. Oh no, I cannot dodge anymore. Because it ran out. And this is why it's so strong. This is what makes Aizen basically so strong on the field. Not only that, but the fact that you don't even have to pay attention to it and it doesn't interrupt your auto attacks. So when I say auto attacks, I mean basic attacks. I'm so sorry. I will say auto attacks quite often because I come from an RPG background. So, but I mean basic attacks, right? So if I do this, if I dodge immediately and then last hit, it works. If I have to dodge twice, I interrupt my my basic attack string, right? If I go into his intimidation state and he starts to counter me, I don't care. I can just straight go into the auto attacks. No, you don't have to worry about dodging, you don't have to worry about nothing. It is so strong. And that's why it's so important to understand when to trigger it. Okay. Now we understand when to trigger it, that we can trigger it, and there is a second way, I said, right? Yes, there is. When I break the mirror, nothing happens. But watch this. If I break the mirror while I'm in at 3 stacks here, I enter the enhanced state again. So this is why it's so important to understand where you are at in your rotation with Aizen, because if you enter this and you cannot use Kurohitsugi and you have your basic attack basically to gain battlefield energy and everything else, you will lose so much utility, you will lose so much momentum in the fight in itself. This is really important to understand. So the next part is the enhanced state in itself. Once he's in an enhanced state, you will gain these enhanced pressure stacks. You will not be able to gain them if you're not in this state. And what they do is fairly simple. They increase your damage. But not only that. For each stack consumed, you enable everybody else to do more damage. Which is super important once you add weapon, which adds 6 stacks to it. And once you factor in the fact that he is all type resistance down. Sorry for that. So if I use Kuritsugi now, you will see we will consume them and we will add 3 stacks here. And there I go. Okay? So while I'm talking, I'm going to build this back up. We are in the enhanced state. Enhanced state, by the way, is the same way in as you do the normal state 2 techniques and finish of the last string of the basic attack. Okay? So we will build back up our battlefield skill, the Kurohitsugi. And now I will consume all 3. And I will have 4 stacks. As you can see. But not only that, I can now counter 2. Okay, cool. But what does this mean? It means that once you build up the battlefield skill, you have agency on how much damage you produce. And this is basically the trick with it. So if I use it now, I cannot counter. And this is especially important with Toshiro. If I switch team here, let's switch to Toshiro real quick. They buffed Toshiro quite immensely, actually. If I'm showcasing this real quick, every time I counter, I get his Shikai immediately. And this is one of his highest damage attacks that he has. So, Ikako, would you chill, please? I like you when you're a dummy. So, highest damage possible for him. And this is the intended team too, right? So what you want to do is, let me consume this real quick. And then switch back to Aizen. So, you don't have any stacks, you use his technique. And then we are going into basic attacks, okay? We are not going to use basic attacks as long as you can use techniques. They have priority so that you can trigger the enhanced state. Okay. Enhanced state. Oh yeah, by the way, when you chain them together, your basic attack jumps to the 4th string, so you will be able to last it faster, just so you know. Okay, cool. Now I have 3 stacks. I'm going to use them. And I'm going to counter into Toshiro. By the way, the counter is automatically. I don't have to press anything. And look at this. He gets his Shikai back. That combined with the fact that now all damage type resistance is down, that with the fact combined that he can give you spirit damage increases and everything else on top of it, which I will get to, is such a strong combination. Okay? And just to showcase this, Bankai Ichigo doesn't work. Yoruichi has a similar spiritual pressure gauge. So let's find out if she gains spiritual pressure from it. Spoiler, yes she will, while I'm building this up here. She will, but only the 25% because she didn't get buffed as much as Toshiro was. So in her case, she just gains the normal amount of counter spiritual pressure that she would gain either way. Quick check, empty, right? We switch back to Aizen. Kurohitsugi into the counter, and yes, we had her basic 25%. It's still a strong mechanic, not as strong as Toshiro's one. Okay? And as you can see, everybody still gets the same benefits. It doesn't matter in which team he works, he gives it to everybody. He is like Oprah Winfrey. Cool. So, what else? What else is important here? When you play him in different teams, what's important is to understand this specific fact. Couple that with the fact that you want to switch out to him only via his battlefield skill. Not only because it does damage, but you also gain increased spirit damage. No matter of the suppression gauge. So if I switch to our dear Kiski here, to switch it up a little bit, I press the button, I switch out, oh look, spiritual pressure damage increase. Okay, this is from before, from the suppression gauge. We will empty this real quick, just to showcase this. So, no buffs, no nothing, right? We switch back to Yoruichi, who I called Yachiro, I'm so sorry. Again, 3rd time this is the charm. Hypnosis, spirit damage gain, increase. So, now we know, when we switch to Aizen, we only switch to Aizen with his battlefield skill. It has a cooldown of 10 seconds. There you go. 10 seconds. Which means usually it's enough that you can do the strings here. You can do a little bit of damage with him. Go into his enhanced pressure state and everything else, blah blah blah. And usually by the time you switch out of him, it's ready again. So, let's say for example, you don't have his suppression gauge, you want to build it up. And this is the second part of his kit, which is super important. How does it work? We know that now we add damage to him, to Aizen itself, once we give him a full gauge, right? But the biggest issue will happen during his ultimate. I will get there. So, any attack we do will increase it. Any. Okay. I switch over to him. Any attack does it. But wait, is it only multi-hits that gave him enough to really increase it? Let's check. This does damage, right? It increases it. So, does this mean that multi-hit attacks work better for him? Let's find out. Yoroichi here has a fantastic ultimate. She gives quite a bit of hits on her ultimate. So let's press it. Let's see. Oh, look, full. Okay. Maybe this was a fluke, right? Let's go back. Let's build back up the pressure gauge. And the ultimate, I mean, Q. By the way, if you need a Yoroichi guide, just spam her basic attack, use her technique on cooldown, and press her basic attack again. So, there we are. Oh, wait. Let's do like this. We will fully empty. I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm sorry. It's a long video. If I'm blurring out stuff, I'm truly sorry, but it's a long video. I'm trying to do this in one take, if possible. Maybe not in the team section, but it's quite a lot. My head is fuming. If you look over wherever you are, just look at the sky. If you see a big black cloud, that's my head smoking. So, here we are again. Multi-hits. Does it work only with multi-hits, or is it based on damage? Good question. Let's check. We were at 800k, this was 64k, and we got 1/3. Okay. By this logic, right, we should be able to do 1/3 with Kisuke's ultimate 2. For this, we're going to empty once again the suppression gauge. Let's go into Hitsuge real quick. And then, now it's empty, right? Basically empty. Okay, so we did 60k. Let's see how this works. Multi-hit. Okay? 1/3. So if I use this then, does this mean I get another third? Based on hits? Yes. It means that... Oh, wait. Atro, but if it's based on hits and not on damage, does this mean that my level 30 increases it by the same amount? Let's find out. Technically, yes. So, gauge is full. We're going to empty it. We're going to switch back to Renji. He has a multi-hitter here. Et voila. Damage doesn't matter. His technique gives as much suppression gauge as his basic attack. Which means Momo is not that good in that team, because she doesn't have many multi-hits. Her basic gives some. Oh wait, I should empty it first. Her basic gives some, but her basic attacks by itself don't give much suppression gauge, as you can see. If we use her technique, we don't have hits on the technique. So if we check how fast we can gain suppression gauge, you will see that with Momo, we severely lacking in suppression gauge increase. And the reason why it's important, let me switch over to somebody who can do this, is to be able to increase his damage inside of his ultimate. Let me showcase this real quick to you. I will build up the ultimate here real quick, and then while I'm doing this, I will explain this further. He has a damage multiplier similar to his Kirutsugi in his Kyokasuigetsu, which means that as soon as his suppression gauge is fully consumed on both halves, his ultimate will deal increased damage. Okay? And this is basically the most important part of his ultimate. So, we switch into Tosh. Let's do full rotation here. Switch into Kisuke just to half full it. And now we are going to use it, okay? What happens is this. He's going to do damage. There you go. But you only will use the bit that was already in the second half of it. We still have the rest here available, right? So if we switch out, we switch back in, now it's gone. So our next Hado 90 will do more damage, but we don't want to do that because compared to his ultimate, the Hado doesn't deal as much damage, okay? As we can see here. Let me put this away real quick. We don't need this real quick. Just now. So, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to prepare my ultimates. I'm going to prepare my bursts, scenarios and everything. And then I will showcase what it means to abuse, so to speak, his ultimate. Okay? While we do this, I will prompt somewhere in here the description for his ultimate and for his techniques, so that you can read for yourself what they do. So, we're going to build up stacks. His ultimate is nearly ready. We are in enhanced suppression state. We are going to do this first. This is a little bit unrealistic, by the way, okay? Because in the normal fight, I will showcase this later on when I do the rotation. You're not going to have everything ready, okay? So, we saw, what was it? 120, 130k, around that? Okay, now I'm going to proc his ultimate, and I'm going to do the full rotation. You can go into his Kuroitsugi, by the way, just by using his techniques too, and then just the last hit. This enables him. We go into Tosh, do a full rotation here, switch over to him real quick to give us buffs. From here, we are going straight into Bankai. Push for damage. I'm not doing the full rotation correctly, just to showcase you what it means to do the damage. And now we are proccing it at full gauge. By the way, I did it because Hyoten Hyokazu is beautiful. And look at the difference in damage. And we still got Dust Ring. Okay? This is a perk of his ultimate, so we will get it anyways. We want to maximize the damage as much as possible during his ultimate. And the more damage you stack on top of it, we stacked Kisuke's buffs, we stacked the resistance down and everything else. If I showcase this just real quick without any buffs, I'm just going to proc this, I'm going to proc his ultimate, and then just do the full rotation and hopefully get his gauge full. Let me switch to Toshiro real quick. I have to build his Bankai, else it doesn't work. Because his Bankai, the last bit of his Hyoten Hyokazu, deals so many multi-hits that basically just instantly fills the ultimate suppression gauge. Sorry, then it's one. So. One more. Now we can switch. Okay, cool. Here we are. Style points. Ultimate. No buffs, no nothing. Okay, just his raw damage. Kurohitsugi. Into Toshiro. There we go. We don't even need to use Bankai for a long period of time. We don't need to use Hyoten Hyokazu. Even though it's one of the most beautiful animations that I've seen here. Okay, now we have the buffs here and we go straight into it. So how much damage do you do by? Respectable. But you see the difference once you start stacking buffs on top of it. And once you're in a proper fight, and then you add Weapon Stamp, you add Core Stamp, which we can actually do, the damage just balloons. And that's what makes Aizen. That's what makes him so good. If you don't do this kind of stuff, it's okay. He's super, he's nice to have. Cool utility, fantastic utility actually. Let's not undersell it, okay? Fantastic utility. Now we add everything together. We go back into training. Chuk-ching! Let's go. So, here we are. He tells me to go away. He tells me to sayonara myself. We're going to go to 3 stacks here. Battlefield skill. And I will come to this part later on. Okay. We're going into Kisuke. He misses everything because he's that great. Into Tosh. We're doing a full rotation with him, by the way. And this is where, for example, the part of having ultimate charge increase is fantastic. So we are not going to waste this, we're going straight into this. Ultimate. And now we get 6 stacks, okay, because we have a Weapon Stamp and we have the Core Stamp. We get even more. We can do 2 counters, which we will gladly do so. And we are going to stack damage on top of damage. So, we are already over half. We are going straight into the Shikai. Full Shikai. If need be, we're not going to have enough, so we're going to switch to Kisuke. And now we're going to proc his ultimate. Watch this. Wait, what? 1.7 mil? Where did that come from? And his Kurohitsugi suddenly deals 350k. The same as the ultimate before. So, as you can see, of course, this is also because of the Weapon Stamp. The Weapon Stamp adds another 3 parts here. And while we talk about the Weapon Stamp, we can just explain real quick. The main benefits of the Weapon Stamp, which makes it really nice. The crit is great, but not really that useful for free-to-play players and low spenders. It's really phenomenal once you get higher up. Once you have 3 here, I don't want to proc it. So now we have 3 here. When we use Kurohitsugi now, we get all sixth. We get all sixth, and this means higher stack of Ravage. I lied, because I wasn't in enhanced state. Crappy. Crapperino. Let me do this again, real quick. I'm sorry. This is taking time. Oh, we can switch over. There we go. Oh yeah, and by the way, when you switch with a full suppression gauge, there you go. Now you are at 7. So there are 2 things that happened here now. The first is, once we add Core Stamp and Weapon Stamp, once we switch over with a full suppression gauge, I stop here, nothing happens, okay? So, we switch over with a full suppression gauge, immediate enhanced, and we get battlefield skill energy. Okay? Wait, did I use it? The video is going to be so long, you have to excuse myself. I'm starting to lose concentration here. So, we switch over, 20 energy. Okay? So basically how this works is, we use stuff off-field, okay? Like this. Then Kisuke is going to Kisuke. Full suppression gauge. We use it, 90. So we gain 70. And we can go straight ahead into 3 stacks into Kurohitsugi. This gives us counters, which immediately gives us Shikai, which immediately gives us another full suppression gauge. which immediately lets us go back into him in a full state, which immediately lets us go back into Hiroitsugi and immediately into another count. And once you add the weapon stamp, and once you add the core stamp, this is how the loop works. It's just a fastened cycle of his normal rotation. Things that you don't have to pay attention to. The only thing you have to pay attention to, as I mentioned in the beginning of all, is that you are in a hand state and you use it as much as possible. Okay? So that you diminish the time out of that suppression state. And that's basically it. That's the kit breakdown. Don't mind so much what's happening with pressure stacks here, right? It's nice, details, you have details and everything else. It's nice to know that once you get the weapon stamp, you get 6 enhanced stacks, and once you get that, you get an increased stacks there. But basically all it means, broken down, this is the TLDR of his skills. Build up his pressure, enhance yourself with the pressure, go to 3 stacks, use his battlefield skill, this gives you counters, this accelerates everybody else's rotation, that's the word I'm looking for. It enhances the rotation of everybody else, and this gives a fast rotation for Aizen, and this gives a faster rotation for everybody else, and this is how you go into this permanent state of dodging everything, right? So, I'm here, I'm doing my stuff, right? I switch out, even if I go without a full suppression gauge, I'm still here, okay? Just when you go, let me reset everything here real quick. When you go into the suppression gauge, I'm confusing myself now. I'm so sorry. Once you switch out into Aizen, we let it fall off, we go switch back in, he is always in enhanced state. And he always gains 20, okay? So, what I'm trying to say is this. Don't overthink it. You're here? Great. Build 3 stacks, and the rest will be added by Kurohitsugi. There you go, 7 stacks. And now you can counter twice. Now you counter twice, you use your counters, preferably support first, right? But it doesn't really matter. You will use them anyways, okay? You don't even have to use the Giga here. You can to push for the ultimate of Kisuke, and there you go. Now, if we switch Kisuke out for Momo, it's the same thing. It doesn't change anything. Don't overthink the rotation, okay? You're here, you can start with Tosh, for example, 2, okay? You do this, switch right into Aizen, and he gains his enhanced state into Kiritsugi. And this is the power of his weapon stamp and his core stamp. Now you can switch into Momo, you can start building up her support, and you're right back into Tosh, and now suddenly it works better. So if you want to run this with Momo, have the weapon stamp, have the core stamp. Really, really important. And that's basically it. That's all there is to Aizen. That's all the headache that you have to suffer. And watch this. We are permanently in a state of dodging. Watch this. Just watch the buff down below while I'm doing this. I have 3 shields here. I have iframe once I get damage, so I don't even bother about anything else. Right? And once I switch into Aizen, I can dodge permanently. So, I switch into Aizen. Oh, look, dodge. And I'm back here. And now your question should be answered if the weapon and the core stamp is needed. I would say so, yes, 100%, because it just smoothens out the rotation. You can slot in anybody. Anybody. Let's go Byakuya. Come on. Thank you. You like Byakuya? Cool. We style with him, we use his technique. It doesn't do much because we don't have his battlefield effect. But we can still play with him. Maybe it's not optimal, because you don't have a support. Maybe it's not the most damaging one, but who cares? I want to play with him, so I will. Back at it. 3 stacks. Hado 90 is ready again. I switch back to him. And I can continue damaging with him. It doesn't really matter. You can play anybody with Aizen. Yes, the performance will be hindered by quite a bit because no synergies, right? But it works. If you want to, with Toshiro, for example, you can use Yachiro too as a support. You switch into Yachiro, you do the first attack, right? She goes into spectating. Kurohitsuki. Into him, and you don't even have to use Yachiro here. You can just stay in Toshiro, for example. And this same principle, you can use it for anybody. You want to use, I don't know, Bankai Ichigo. There you go. That's it. You don't need Kisuke here. You can use Kisuke in another team if needed. Same thing. You start, technique, into spectate, and then you start blasting. There you go. Look. Full gauge. And she's spectating, she's buffing us, she's buffing Aizen. We switch out again, and then the whole spiel starts anew. And that's the same thing here. His ultimate, you can use Yachiro here for her ultimate to buff us, and then you can switch out to Ichigo. He will be lacking when it comes to the spirit generation, the pressure generation, sorry. It will be super tight, just barely, right? But it works. You can do this. There is no issues. Oh, you have maybe Yoruichi. Okay, let's retry with Yoruichi then. Let's say Orihime, you don't have a support. For some reason you were unlucky, you started late, you don't have the supports. You have Orihime. Okay, cool. What can we do with Orihime and Yoruichi? Same thing. Same thing. We start with Orihime, right? Because once she gives her support here, and we switch out, Aizen gains the damage. There it is. Okay? Hado 90. Now here we can use it, because it doesn't matter, her support remains and you get healed. And you can play with this with this team composition. Just make sure that you use her special attack first. There you go. And now I use ultimate, right? Because I have 3 stacks here. I'm going up to 6. And then my Kurohitsuki will be enhanced. There you go. Into Yoruichi. Let's use her technique first. And then her ultimate. Why? I don't know. It's just me spamming stuff. We cannot go into Orihime here because we are lacking on multi-hits on her. Okay, this doesn't work because she's lacking multi-hits. So we need a second support who has multi-hits maybe. Okay? But still, if you like to play in this team composition, that's the power of Aizen. That's the true power of Aizen. No matter what, you can do it. And his rotation doesn't change. If you don't have the weapon stamp, if you don't have his core stamp, his rotation is really tight. Really, really tight. And then the team composition matters much more. Let me go back into this. Let me switch this out again. Oh, and by the way, just real quick, as I mentioned, like in damage in general, when we speak about damage here, the difference between his weapon stamp and his core stamp, if you don't have both, but you have to use one or the other, they give about 10 to 15, maybe 20% damage increase. But if you put them both together, the damage increase is not 30 to 40%, it's more like 50 to 60%, even more sometimes, okay? Depending on the stamps by itself. Cool. So, we're going to take this off, replace. Let's go with something blue here, because this won't alternate anything related to the rotation. Okay, maybe not. Let's retry this instead of... Okay, now it's working. I'm sorry. Cool. I'm trying... if I sound rushed, it's because this video is going to be so long, and I'm so sorry for that. But there is no way I can do this any other way. Just real quick, going over the stamps. His stamp is giving illusion stacks. Basically what it means is just spirit damage when you use Kyokasuigetsu, and once you switch over to the characters, you will increase the crit damage bonus further and you double up the stacks, okay? Basically, this means once you use Kyokasuigetsu, you go first into support and then into your main damage dealer. This because he will gain more stacks out of it. Just a small little thing. Then, like I mentioned, Spiritual Domination, under it, he gains increased basic attack, techniques, and counter-attack damage. Cool. We remove this. We are not going to use anything here. We're going back into training, back into free practice. And while I'm doing this, by the way, somewhere on the screen, I forgot to mention this, you will see rotations of bosses. I'm not going to add them here. I feel like that's too much. I'm just going to do a window where you can see the rotations while I talk and explain stuff here in the training. So, without the stamp, we are not going to do the same rotation as before, okay? The main reason why is we don't have it. This is, by the way, a bug. So what I'm going to do now is, if I reset this, it comes back. I'm just going to wait, okay? Why are you at 70 already? Let's use it up real quick. Okay, so this is a situation where you will be often in when you are playing against bosses, when you're playing the game normally. I don't know why the training room is bugged, but it is. Don't worry about it. So basically you are here without nothing. So, one of the major issues is that you feel the need to fully fill, the gauge here. You don't have to. I'm here with Orihime, I switch into Aizen, I start doing his rotation. I'm not in enhanced state, by the way, so I have to manually do all the things that I had before. You can do it like this, and then into Kiruitsugi, or you can do the technique first and then... But we only have one counter-attack, so... As you can see, my ultimate is already ready. I'm not going to stand here and try to push the suppression gauge. I'm going straight into the ultimate because this is what deals damage for me. Okay? This is how you do it. Then you go back into her. We are going to forget about Orihime for a second here. Oops. And then we use the ultimate. And this is why ultimate charge rate, by the way, is really good for Aizen. And then we are going to continue our DPS here, just normally. This will give us enough, his ultimate will give us like, how to say this? It's like a resemblance of his normal rotation that he would have with his stamps and everything. Here, in case of Yoruichi, for example, you don't want to use her ultimate without being able to DPS fully with her. But it doesn't matter. It's just, look at this. Ultimate charge rate, perfect for him. He's here, 3 stacks, we are going into ultimate again. This is, ultimate charge rate is what enables you to play Aizen as you would have his normal, what's it called? Weapon stem, there you go. There we are. We can use her Shunko. But here we now have an issue because we are not full. It doesn't matter. Just go on about your day. Just continue to do the damage that you can do. We are fully in here. 3 stacks. We can skip the basic attack because it doesn't do much. Right into it again. I'm completely ignoring Orihime, by the way, currently. And this is by design. I'm not forgetting her or her support. And just to showcase that you can just use whoever you want as support and the rotation will still stand. Now, this is one of the issues, okay, that you could run into when you not abuse Aizen, but when you are trying to do the rotation really, really fast. But it doesn't matter. Usually, when I'm playing, I will go into Orihime, I will maybe heal, I will use her support. So these 4 seconds that I have on the cooldown of the ultimate doesn't really matter to me. In fact, sometimes I don't really care if there is a cooldown on it for a few seconds, because the technique enables you to dodge some attacks, which is really, really nice too. So this part here can dodge attacks. Let me showcase this. This part here can dodge it. Chill. His counter gives pressure stacks too, by the way. But still, it doesn't trigger. This part here needs to be really, really accurate. That technique in itself, just to say, she can help dodge, but it's more about positioning. You have to be really tight in your timing to do this. If you are too early, like normally you would counter here. Oh, why didn't you counter? You would counter as soon as you see the white flash. With his technique, he cannot do that. Give me a second, I'll help you. You have to wait for the last second like this, and here the same again. Once you do this, you can counter, and that's why I'm saying it doesn't really matter with his ultimate if you have it or not. You wanna wait for the last second, and then just push through. Okay? So this is for the technique, by the way. So, long story short, this is basically the guide to Aizen. When it comes to team composition, real quick, we can use anybody. We can really use anybody. One of the best teams that he can have is Kisuke as a support. Straight up. Kisuke, I would say he's the best support, multi-role support. If you don't have Kisuke, or if he's not built, or for whatever reason you don't have, maybe, what was it? I think it was his weapon. Yeah, it's the weapon which gives you 6 stacks, I think, or the boundary, I don't remember. One of the two gives you 6 stack of the attack buff. If you don't have that, you can substitute him with Yachiro. No issues whatsoever. Especially if your Yachiro has dupes in her. She's fantastic. Let me go out here real quick. So this part is the team building section, okay? Real quick. So we want to have one support. If you have B4, let me go. I'm all over the place, I'm sorry. Let me go over his boundary first before we do team building sections. His first is fantastic. Oh, this is where he gains the battlefield skill from. I'm sorry. It wasn't the stamps. Forget it. This is the B1. So this is what gives him so much energy, by the way, under complete suppression. So this part here is maybe important too. Crap, I forgot about this. No, I have to redo my whole guide. No, just kidding. I have not to redo my whole guide, but just a part of the B1 being important, because the battlefield skill energy is quite important to have. It enables you to have a smoother rotation, okay? So, I messed up. Sorry. There's so much to know that I forgot that it was part of his B1 and not of his weapon spec, so to speak. So if you have to decide if you need the weapon or a B1, personally, if I had to decide, I would go with his B1 just for the ease of use of the rotation, basically. Then his B2 is, oh yeah, I forgot to say this. Complete suppression, which means more stacks faster, more stack uptime of Ravage, more uptime of all damage resistance down. And then we have the Boundary Ascension 2, which is another support type boundary. Nice, but niche to be fair. This is not really needed. I mean, the Spirit Team does enough damage by itself. Level, and then in here on the B4 you start being, Aizen becomes a DPS main, so to speak, okay? So if you have his B4, well, why are you even watching this guide? Just spam buttons and you will win. And if you have his B6, even more so. His basic attack, techniques, and counterattacks ignore defense. I wanted to say defense, but it's defense. And each stack of Ravage applies even further def ignore on it. But this part here is not as good as this part here. This part here together for Aizen is phenomenal. This part here is nice, but if you don't have 6 stack or 7 stack of Ravage, you don't feel it as much. Why is everything in his kit so long? Then, when he switched through a backline skill, he can release a counterattack, which is nice, okay? His counterattack, for reference, gives him a 1 pressure stack and 1 stack of Ravage. It helps. It really helps keeping his Ravage stack up, okay? It just further aiding in amplifying the damage that he does. And then the last part is basically Bankai Ichigo passive baked into his boundary. Okay, so then, before we will do the team section at the end. Stamps. There are 3 battlefield stamps. There is his own. This is the recommended one from the game, and this is also the recommended one if you have 0 investment in Aizen. So you don't have the weapon, you don't have his core stamp, you don't have boundaries, you have just him. He will be more a support type unit than being the powerhouse that it is. Once you start having, especially once you have the B4, you go with Byakuya. Okay? No argument whatsoever. You're going with attack here if you go Byakuya stamp, because the ultimate charge rate here is enough. Okay? That you don't need to have even more ultimate charge rate. If you have it in the advanced stat, it's fine, but you don't need it anymore. The fact here is that because you increase your basic attack by 100% and then you add further damage to it, this out DPSs the Aizen stamp once you have the core stamp and the weapon stamp alone. But this one here gives you more of support into the stamps, into your teams, so that you don't have to worry about who needs more uptime. Because Byakuya's stamp needs uptime on Aizen, okay? If you don't have uptime, this stamp is not worth it. And the third one is increased basic attack, and each time a battlefield skill deals damage, increases the next battlefield skill damage by 12% for 10 seconds, stacks up to 5 times. This one is really good once you play teams where you have to switch out a lot. One of those teams is the strike team. Once you do that, you keep Kuroitsugi on cooldown, you keep the switch out on cooldown, and you will stack this up by quite a lot, and you will add a lot of damage into Kuroitsugi. And because his ultimate Kuroitsugi is a battlefield skill, yep, it counts for that too. Here too, if you play with Inner Fang, ultimate charge rate. That's my recommendation. I will do a video about ultimate charge rate because I think, personally for my playtesting, a lot of people undervalue ultimate charge rate by quite a bit. Then here in the middle, I go for attack. Again, this is about investment, okay? If I go over to the stats, without any weapons, I'm at 31%. The general rule in action RPGs, in RPGs in itself, is that for every 1% of crit, you want to have 10% of crit damage. Generally speaking, okay, you want to have a ratio of 1 to 10, sorry. This is not possible here, of course not. The general rule here is that if you cannot go over 50%, crit damage falls off and crit rate falls off. Because all the damage happens in the ultimates, most of the times. If you don't crit, that severely cripples you. Attack is quite nice. If you can have crit rate in the advanced state, perfect. Try to get it. And then once you have his weapon stamp, you will get over 50% anyways. And then you could think about having crit damage. But again, why should you have it crit damage here if you can just have it in the advanced stat? Okay. I prefer attack. It makes it much more reliable and it makes it much more flexible to use him anywhere else too. Crit rate, for example, doesn't work as well in teams like Yachiru, because she doesn't give crit rate unless it's in the core stamp. So if you don't have her core stamp, she doesn't provide crit chance, and even when she provides crit chance in her core stamp, there you go, you would want to increase crit damage instead of crit rate then, because of the ratio. Okay? This is general rule. All the mathematicians out there, I appreciate you breaking down why I'm wrong with this, but this is just a general rule to simplify gearing up, because our resources in getting stamps is fairly limited and we want to make the most out of what we got. Then additionally, once you level it up to level 30, these kind of perks are fantastic. You don't want to have technique damage because his technique damage is laughable. You want to have basic attack damage. You want to have counter... I don't even know if there is any counter damage, by the way. I might be wrong. But battlefield skill damage or like support kind of damage like this. And then here, spirit damage bonus. It's a given, okay? My stamps are bad, that's why it looks like this. So, to recap, TLDR stamps, immeasurable gap if you don't have any investment into Aizen, Byakuyas, anything above boundary 4, or if you're using him as the main DPS, and Inner Fang if you have the weapon stamps and the core stamps and the B1. This is the general recommendation I would give. Why I'm saying Inner Fang, it's slightly less damage than his own, but it's generally more applicable to anybody else. Okay, that's why I'm saying this. His stamp, by the way, is fantastic too, but it has the spirit damage part here, which makes it less valuable for non-spirit characters. Okay. Team building. Let's go back into training. Holy crap, I don't even know. What's this? 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours? I don't even know anymore. Team building, it doesn't matter. Like, seriously, it really doesn't matter. His best teams are Toshiro, Kisuke. Let's go straight with Kisuke here. Oh wait. And then as DPS you can use Bankai Ichigo. You can use Gin when he comes out. You can use Renji. You can use Initial Ichigo. any DPS, any mainstay DPS, you can use them. Is it the best ever? Maybe not. But you can use them. What you don't want to use is Byakuya and Tozen. You can use Tozen, but the thing is with him, he really wants to stay off-field for the most impact possible. If you don't use him off-field and if you don't have investment in him, he will be more liability because he will hinder the rotation of Aizen. Okay? Then, man. Strike team. Ah, that's where I wanted to go. Strike team. Strike teams, Sergeant doesn't work. Straight up doesn't work. You can put Sergeant in here. You could use him just for his buff, for his shield, right? Let's go quickly back to this part here. I think I will keep it here. You can go into his technique. His technique will give a shield buff, and this will help, but seriously, you don't need this. Once you, I think it's in the boundary. Yeah, here. Once his shield is active, he gives crit damage, which could be nice if you want to main Aizen. He could be consideration to buff it even further. But the issue is, if you have him and you have, for example, Kisuke, you won't be able to gain a much pressure gauge, which a suppression gauge, sorry, and this is a big issue. So his go-to, again, is Kisuke. I find most success with Kisuke and with either Bankai, Ichigo, or Toshiro. You can do double support, by the way. You can use Yachiro and Kisuke. Kisuke has a lot of multi-hits in his kit, so that could work. But generally speaking, I will keep it to somebody who can burst to make the most out of it. And these two can burst, definitely can burst. I mean, if you have a really well-built Ikkaku, you can put Ikkaku in there too. I'm not going to discredit Ikkaku there. But that's basically it. That's how he plays. Oh wait, no, one part I forgot to mention is this. I'm really sorry about this. This is a big part. Where is his ultimate? Is it here? Nope. It's in his passive, right? Oh, I don't remember. Where is it? Why is everything so... Where is it? Let me see real quick. Anyways, here it is. This is what I'm looking for. So, this is an important part to know. If you're fighting a boss and everybody is dying and you have to choose one last man standing, keep Aizen. If Aizen is the only one left in the team, then all attacks, except his I will stand atop the heavens, will contribute to the suppression gauge. Everything. Even when he's in Kyokasuigetsu. Okay? While Kyokasuigetsu is active, his battlefield skill will become I will stand atop the heavens. Again, his ultimate is a battlefield skill. So anything increasing battlefield damage is super viable, just as a last wrap up of everything. Man, I don't even know how long have I been talking, man. It's way too long. Either way, I will maybe edit it, shorten down. So, with that said, this video is far too long. I'm really sorry. But I hope it was educational. I hope you learned a lot. I hope it will help you use Aizen properly. And I truly thank you everybody who watched it all and was here until the end. Thank you so much. Let me know in the comments down below if this was useful, what kind of changes you want to see in the format I'm presenting here. I'm open for feedback. Just let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.